Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're going to be diving into the latest around Arsenal. Now, we have a couple of topics to dive into this evening. We'll be talking about Thomas Partey. We'll be talking about exits and Mikel Arteta's claim that Thomas Partey will be staying with Arsenal this season, and is looking for a way to find a way on how to integrate Jorginho, Rice and Thomas Partey in the same midfield, because he says he loves to play with midfielders and definitely has the best of the best at Arsenal next season. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. We are having a poll running on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, we're having a poll running live. Where do you think Thomas Partey will play next season? Option A, he will play for Arsenal. Option B, he will go to Juventus, which actually is his option if he was to leave Arsenal. He would love to stay in Europe and he would love to play at Juve. And option 3 is Saudi Arabia. With all the talks coming out that there is a deal agreed between a Saudi Arabian Pro League club and Thomas Partey, do you think he will go to Saudi Arabia? Do you think he will be a Saudi Arabian player? Let me know in the comment box below as well. But of course, on the poll, you can continue voting. Do you think he will play in Saudi Arabia? Do you think that is where his destination is going to be for the near future? Because that is another important one. Listen, if you think about the money that Arsenal need, you think about what Thomas Partey will be offered, you cannot rule out Saudi Arabia overpowering Arsenal in the negotiations to keep Thomas Partey. But we'll be diving into much of that. Mikel Arteta has been speaking, and he said at the moment, it's a good problem to have. I have Partey, I have Jorginho, and I have Rice, and trust me, I'm looking for the best way to incorporate and integrate them into the team together. We will be talking about a right winger as we dive into the two candidates that are leading the race to sign for Arsenal. That is Mohamed Kudus at Ajax. We'll be talking about Joao Felix as well as Moussa Diaby joins Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia. Now, there is a big problem with Saudi Arabia and the money, but we'll be focusing on Joao Felix, we'll be focusing on Mohamed Kudus. Which of the two is your favorite? Should Arsenal go for Mohamed Kudus, or should we go for Joao Felix? Now, Kudus, 40 to 45 million euros, very young, very versatile as well, can play in midfield, can play as a winger as well, and he's wanted at Brighton and Liverpool. Joao Felix is one of the players that have that kind of uncertain future. I think he's not yet settled at Atletico Madrid. There is a possibility that Chelsea might re-sign him before the window starts, but Mikel Arteta wanted Joao Felix in January. Could we go back and try to sign Joao Felix? And then, of course, in the show, we'll be discussing outgoings potentially. Where are we in terms of selling players? Because it's going to be very, very key in terms of our next move. Arsenal's next signing will hugely depend on how much we can sell and how much we can raise from player outgoings. So we'll be talking about Nicola Pepe, who has had a deal collapse with a Saudi Arabian club. Now, he was offered 5 million euros per year. He turned that down, and the Saudi Arabian club actually walked away. We'll be talking about Kieran Tierney, who wants to go to Manchester City. We'll be talking Balogun. We'll be talking Nuno Tavares, who has no chance of staying at Arsenal whatsoever. And Cedric Soares is also in talks to join FC Benfica. Hit the like button for me, subscribe. Let's get this one to 500 likes. Your thoughts and opinions in the comment box below. Very, very much welcome. Let me know what you think about our window so far, and what you think Thomas Partey, what you think about Thomas Partey's future, and where you think he will be playing next season. I can see you right in the comment section. Hassan says Felix is a better option than Kudus, and of course Oscolo also says me that Felix is off to Barca. Geoffrey says Felix is better but cannot afford being on the bench, so let's go get Kudus. Brown says Partey should stay. He deserves that after guiding Arsenal to second finish by mistake. We'll be diving into much of your comments as well. So let's start off with Mikel Arteta's comments on Thomas Partey this evening. Of course, we do have a game, by the way. We do have a game at exactly 3:30 in the morning. I'll be watching that, and probably I will do a live reaction in the morning. And of course, I will be doing a couple of reactions to the game. But before the game, Mikel Arteta was asked about the problem of having three world-class midfielders in Jorginho, in Declan Rice, and also Thomas Partey. He was asked about Thomas Partey, particularly in the interview, and he was asked whether he's going to stay at Arsenal or whether he's going to leave. Now, his response actually triggers a lot of emotions for an Arsenal fan who wants to keep Thomas Partey, because he says, we are looking for a way to integrate the three of them in the team. I love playing with midfielders, and definitely having Thomas Partey, Jorginho, and Rice is now a problem. That's a very, very good problem for us to have. So I think Arteta is much more confident as compared to all the other sources reporting around the club. Arteta is more confident that he will keep Thomas Partey, and Partey will be an Arsenal player next season. Of course, that is a positive. There are very many questions we've got to ask of Mikel Arteta, right? There's so many questions we can ask of the club. Why they've decided not to give Partey a new contract yet? Why he's one of the players that we're not even looking at extending his deal, right? He's been a very key player to Arsenal. He is still a very key player in our system. The arrival of Declan Rice, according to Mikel Arteta, does not mean that Thomas Partey leaves, which is actually very good. But the big question is if he stays. If it is a sure deal, he will stay. Then why aren't we trying to extend his deal? So Mikel Arteta's remarks, as he has been speaking to as he has been speaking to the media way back there in the USA on the tour, he has said, we now have three very good holding midfielders with Rice, Thomas, and Jorginho. I have to fit them in because they are so good, and I love playing with midfielders. So we are thinking of a few things to do to maximize their qualities. We are thinking of a few things to do to maximize their qualities. So he says we have three very good midfielders, three holding midfielders, Rice, Thomas, and Jorginho. Now, look, if you're Mikel Arteta, I think you work with what Eddie is trying to do in the market. What we've tried to do is revamp our midfield. What we've tried to do, and what we've done actually successfully, is to overturn our midfield. Last summer, we signed Fabio Vieira to provide competition to Martin Odegaard. Then this summer, we have signed Kai Havertz in a position where we know that Emile Smith-Rowe has actually been very successful and thrived very well for the England under 21s as they won the World Cup, the Euro under 21 Championship. So we have two left number 8s in Emile Smith-Rowe and Kai Havertz, and we have two right number 8s in Fabio Vieira and Martin Odegaard. The holding midfield position has Thomas Partey and Albert Samila. So there was a lot of quality needed. There was some, we needed a huge step up. We've gone for a 105 million pound midfielder in Declan Rice. That means that Arsenal are not going to bench Rice for Thomas Partey. It's going to be it's going to be the other way around. Partey sits, Rice plays. Of course, there will be scenarios, and we'll see a lot of Thomas Partey and Declan Rice lineup in the same lineup, that kind of double pivot, the traditional double pivot, where you literally play number 8 in Declan Rice, who has got that interception and ball progressive ability, box-to-box guy. Like, he can be your box-to-box guy. And then there is a possibility where Rice plays as a holding midfielder. There is as a single pivot. There is a possibility where Partey plays as a single pivot. So I think it's good to have the options. It's very nice to have 3-4 players who can play a similar role or at times play together, and they're in the same team. I think Manchester City have had that for quite some time. They've had Calvin Phillips, they've had Rodri, they've had Ike Gundogan. Those three can actually play each and everywhere in midfield. Probably not into the creative department of Kevin De Bruyne, but of course you can argue that Ilkay Gundogan can play each and every position in midfield. And I think with Declan Rice, we have we have such a player in our team. He literally can play everywhere. But the big questions for me with Thomas Partey, yes, there is a confirmation from Mikel Arteta that he wants to maximize their qualities. He wants them to be satisfied, and I don't think there is a big problem with keeping three players satisfied. It's gonna be about how do you rotate them as a manager. How do you rotate Partey with Rice? How do you rotate Rice with Havertz? How do you rotate Odegaard with Fabio Vieira? It's an element that I think Mikel Arteta needs to improve of his game and of his managerial career. I think he's giving some players too many minutes and some players far too less minutes. But next season, it's going to be a big challenge. But the big questions that we have to answer and Mikel Arteta has to look at before he keeps Thomas Partey, Jorginho, and Rice together in the team. Number one, what does Thomas Partey really want? So reports have been coming out claiming that Thomas Partey would rather leave Arsenal, has asked to leave Arsenal this summer. Whether that depends on rumors of Arsenal focusing on Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo, I'm not really sure. But the big question for me is, if we had signed Moises Caicedo in January, would we have kept Thomas Partey in this summer? I mean, that is the big question, because with Moises Caicedo, he's more like a like-for-like replacement of Thomas Partey. I think with Rice, there are so many differences to their game. Partey is more like your single pivot, your guy that keeps things ticking, and your strong physical defensive midfielder. With Declan Rice, you can convert him into your Frank Lampard. You can convert him into a much progressive player. I think with Moises Caicedo, it would have been different. So probably Thomas Partey has looked at his options. He has looked at Arsenal looking at Moises Caicedo. He's looked at Arsenal looking at all these other players, and he has decided this is not the best place for me to be. This is not the right place for me to be. Eventually, Moises Caicedo will start ahead of myself, and Declan Rice, who is actually one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League, will eventually start ahead of me. So if it is true that Thomas Partey has actually asked Arsenal to be released, it could be that his representatives, his entourage has actually, told him or advised him that you should leave Arsenal right now while you still have a bigger market value. Because right now, if anyone wanted to buy Rice, to buy Partey, if you don't have 30 million euros and above, you cannot afford him. And I think right now, Partey can go and command any salary, between 150,000 and 250,000 at any club, be it in Europe or even in Saudi Arabia. So I'm not really sure what Thomas Partey wants. I cannot come here and claim to know that he's told the club he's desperate to leave. His relationship with Arsenal does not represent two parties that are desperate to part ways. Right? There is we've had relationships with players where the club is absolutely eager to let the player go. Nicola Pepe, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Mesut Ozil, right? Scott Mustafi. So in those scenarios, the team and the player and the relationship, it was done. It was the bridges had been burned. I don't think we have burned bridges with Thomas Partey. I think Partey is looking at himself and thinking, what is the best move for me? And Arsenal are also looking at themselves financially and also in terms of, how big our squad is. And they're saying, if Thomas Partey wants to go, and there is a club that is willing to offer probably 40 million euros, we will let him go. Why? Because we've spent 250 million euros and we need to get that some of that money back. And the best way to get some of that money back this summer is to, one, sell the Rice shirts. I mean, everyone will have a Declan Rice shirt by the end of this summer. But number two, sell some players. And Thomas Partey is one of the sellable assets. So I think this will also depend on what Thomas Partey wants. Charles Watts actually has come out and said he's taken Arsenal back to UCL. He's made sure that Arsenal are competing again, and he's a big Arsenal fan, and he would love to stay at the club. I don't think there is one Arsenal fan that is in disagreement with Thomas Partey staying at the club. We all want him to stay, and we all love him, right? I would take Thomas Partey every single day over 50 million euros, over 60 million euros. But there is, then there is also a big question, right? So first and foremost, Thomas Partey has joined the team in the USA. So that actually clarifies any kind of misconceptions about he's not traveled with the team. So he's finalizing a deal with any club. That is not happening. He's traveled with Emil Smith-Rowe finally to the USA. They might not play today. We might not see them, but definitely, he's part of the squad. Of course, again, this doesn't mean that because he's joined the team in the US, it doesn't mean that he can't make a move. He can make a move. He can agree personal terms with any club. Arsenal can also agree terms and a deal and a fee with any club, and then he can fly out of camp, go complete his deal, and join another club. But I think there is some now clarity that is with the team. And that means that there is nothing close. If it was close, we could have seen what Liverpool have done with Fabinho and Jadon Henderson. There is no reason for you to be training and playing with the team anymore if you are, inches away from becoming an Al Nassr player or an LTIF player or something like that. Okay, so Thomas Partey is not close to joining any club at the moment as we speak. That is a positive. If he stays, we become stronger, right? And I've written this down as one of the very, very controversial points on this topic. If he stays, we become stronger. But if he leaves, we get money to buy a winger to back up Saka. And this is one of the points that I've put into this live show while I was preparing. Kudus is a player we are looking at. 40 to 45 million euros could get the deal done, but Arsenal are planning on signing Kudus definitely after getting money, after selling some players. So the dilemma with Thomas Partey, and I'm going to ask you this in the comment box below right about now. The dilemma with Thomas Partey is if he stays, Arsenal are stronger in midfield. We will have the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League if he stays. Imagine having Jorginho, Partey, and Rice in the same team. That is pedigree, experience, physicality, technical ability, talent, fresh legs. You literally have everything in those three players. Partey is a winner. Rice is a winner. Jorginho is a winner as well. So the ideal scenario is that you keep him. The ideal scenario is that he stays. The problem with that is that Arsenal are looking for money to sign a winger. We are looking for money to spend on an area where we are actually weaker. And last season we saw that Saka's probably injury, probably fall deep in form, actually directly affects Arsenal, because Saka is one of the highest creating midfielders and wingers in the Premier League. So that means that with Arsenal, we have one of the best creative players in the Premier League, and we have one of the highest scoring wingers in the Premier League. But you've got to think about it. If Arsenal have bought a replacement for Saliba, if we have upgraded on Xhaka, if we have upgraded on our midfield, especially on Thomas Partey, then there's no question we need to find a quality competition for Saka. So selling Partey aids Arsenal to buy a quality competition for Saka. We could buy Kudus with that money. We could loan Joao Felix on a season-long loan with that money, right? So there is also that big question. So the question in the comment box below that we are answering now: do you keep Partey and do not buy a quality competition for Saka? Or do you sell Partey and then you can be able to buy quality competition? You can buy a competitor. You can bring in Kudus to fight with Saka. Obviously, if you let go of Partey, you have Rice and you also have Jorginho in those areas. I want to know your thoughts there. I want to know your thoughts and opinions. So what do? Do we sell him and sign a quality cover for Saka? Do we keep him and let Saka play all the games there is in the campaign? Of course, you're going to tell me about Kai Havertz rotating, but of course, Kai Havertz is going to have his own dedicated role, which is going to be where Jacques has been playing last season. So I want your thoughts, I want your opinions there. What should Arsenal do? Sell and buy a winger? Don't sell, stay strong in midfield, but risk having Saka dipping in form, but you don't have a quality cover for him. Okay. Now, the other questions we've got to think about, and the other talking points around Partey is one, can he sit on the bench and wait for Rice? Now, I understand Mikel is talking about having three players, fitting them together and all this stuff. But the truth is that you cannot play three holding midfielders. It's even very hard for us to play two holding midfielders at a go. So it's going to be about rotation. It's going to be about minutes. And I reckon Declan Rice is going to play more minutes than any other player in that midfield in terms of holding midfielders. So I don't see Rice playing less minutes than Jorginho. I don't see Rice playing less minutes than Thomas Partey. So if that is going to be the way, if that is the way forward, if Partey is going to be a second option to Rice, is he willing to sit on the bench? Is he willing to lose his, fast starter status to a player like Declan Rice, who Arsenal have gone and spent a king's ransom on, right? Because you don't spend huge amounts of money. You don't spend such an exorbitant amount for a player to be on the bench. You want him to play each and every game. You want him to be among your top performers, that is number one, but also you want him to be among the players that can actually, average as many minutes as they can. Then the other one is his wages on the bench. So Partey is one of the highest earners at Arsenal. Like, that is clear. When Mikel Arteta came in, I think he was made our highest paid player, wasn't he? I think he earns around 180 to 200,000 per week. So he was made Arsenal's highest paid player. Of course, now a few players have overtaken him. Kai Havertz has overtaken him. I think Saka has overtaken him, and Declan Rice has overtaken him as well. Okay, I think a few other players will overtake him, especially Martin Odegaard. But his wage is 200,000 on the bench. For a club like Arsenal that are trying to balance their finances, one of the things that we have we've done very well is that we've been a very, very well-run club. So do we want to risk it? Do we want to risk having 200,000 on the bench, or do we want to have a player like maybe Romeo Lavia come in, 80,000 per week, 90,000 per week? That is almost half. Actually, more than half of what Thomas Partey is earning. And of course, Romeo Lavia will be happy to sit on the bench as Arsenal lift the UEFA Champions League and as Arsenal will lift the Premier League as well. So that's going to be another challenge. Partey can stay, no question about that. But him and Jorginho combine their wages for them to be sitting out on the bench. Yes, they provide cover, they provide competition, they provide a deeper depth in squad. But in my opinion, I don't see Arsenal keep a player on 200,000 per week if Mikel Arteta is not really guaranteed that it's going to be important. And lastly, is this our best time to sell? Now, this happens a lot with clubs that are well run. I'll give you an example. Brighton could have decided to keep Bissouma until now. Brighton could have decided to keep Moises Caicedo for the next season and the next season, but they've decided that they will sell this summer. Brighton have sold Alex McAllister. Of course, his release clause was triggered, so they didn't decide. The release clause was triggered. Okay. But you look at Manchester City and you look at how they run their business when they sold Sterling, when they sold Zinchenko, and when they sold Gabriel Jesus. You must know the time when to sell. You must understand that you will bring in players for a fee and you will sell some players for a certain fee. That is how business works. Football clubs are a business. So is this the best time to sell for Arsenal? Sadly, it is. 2 years left on his contract. It means that we have a lot of power in our negotiation, on the negotiation table. And number two, he's enjoyed one of his best seasons at Arsenal. He's enjoyed one of these best seasons where he's picked up some injuries, but when he's been fit, he's been important and he's actually delivered. So I think collectively, many of the clubs coming in will look at Thomas Partey as an important pivot of Arsenal's last season's Arsenal, the runners-up. That is what they look at. They will look at Arsenal who stabilized in midfield. They look at an Arsenal side that actually were much better in possession. And they look at an Arsenal side that were really good at winning the ball back. And they will point one man for all those attributes in and out of position. Thomas Partey. Of course, he did score some crackers as well in this season. So with Arsenal now having the dilemma of best time to sell, huge wages to sit on the bench. If we sell him, we bring in a new winger to strengthen on the right-hand side. Is it time for Partey to leave? But Mikel Arteta says that at the moment, he has three of the world's best holding midfielders and is planning on maximizing their qualities. He's not planning on losing them. But of course, the situation can change anytime. The situation in transfers, like we've learned, is that today you're talking about a delayed announcement, and tomorrow you're talking about a double announcement. That is the nature of transfers, and that's the nature of football, and that's why we love football. Football is an ever-changing sport. It's a dynamic sport. We love football because of its dynamism. So I want your thoughts on Thomas Partey, on this Thomas Partey deal. What do Arsenal do? What should we do? I mean, it's easy for us to go keep him, but then it's also very easy for us to go, we need a new winger, right? So spending 250 million euros, it means that we need to sell. I think Balogun is one of the players we will sell. I think Partey would be one of the players Arsenal could consider selling. And I think apart from those two, there are not so many other big talents out there or in this squad that Arsenal are going to sell to bring in over 80 or 90 million euros. So I can see the dilemma that faces Edu, and I can see the difficult decision that Edu faces as well. Okay, but I will need to get some of your thoughts and some of your opinions right in the comment box below what you're saying. Brown says Trossard could be used to back up Saka. Okay, I mean, I don't disagree. Mikel Arteta has looked at versatility always. He's always looked at versatility as one of the reasons to sign a player or to sign him. And to be honest, I don't think it's a bad shout. I think Trossard is really talented. I think he's one of the most talented players in that squad, in that Arsenal squad. So if we go Trossard, backs up Martinelli, and he backs up Saka as well, I think it's a good shout. Right? But do Arsenal need a right winger? Do Arsenal need cover on the right? We definitely do. So it's not the end, or it's not the end. Okay. Tony says if Partey remains, Arsenal will have a strong midfield. I mean, there's no question about that. There is no question about that. Joseph says we should keep him and win trophies, then we'll sell him in the next season. Now, the challenge with that is that Thomas Partey has 2 years left in his deal. So if you're looking to sell him next season, he will have 1 year left on his deal. So he can either decide to run that year down and move over on a free, or the clubs that are willing to buy will actually give you very less amount of money. Why? Because one, it's going to be Declan Rice, running the midfield this season. So you don't expect to sit on the table and say he's young, he has a big ceiling. He has a 2 year deal on his contract. All those privileges are gone. He's no longer young, and he's one of the players that, if Arsenal don't sell this summer, you don't get good money. Frank says Nelson can back up Saka. I think we are undermining and we are underrating the importance of Bukayo Saka in this side. We are underrating the importance of Bukayo Saka in this Arsenal side. Just to remind you, we are talking about a player who won back-to-back Player of the Year awards at Arsenal last season. The 2 previous seasons before last season. We are talking about a runner-up last season in Arsenal's vote for Player of the Year. Not Young Player of the Year, but Player of the Year. So you don't pick anyone to replace such a player. You don't bring anyone to... Reece Nelson can be good when you swap him out with Martinelli. Why? Because I think Gabriel Martinelli, however talented he is, however good he is, he has not established himself as one of the most important players at Arsenal. Leandro Trossard can give you what Martinelli gives you, and at times Reece Nelson can also come and deliver the same. The problem and the huge problem is with Saka. Saka is at the levels where we are comparing him with Rodrigo at Real Madrid, with Riyad Mahrez, Jack Grealish, and Mo Salah. Now, those are the world's elite wingers. So that's the problem. Saka is too good. You don't bring anyone to... Fabio Vieira has the ability to play where Saka plays. So we shouldn't be thinking about an option. But the truth is, Vieira is not Saka. Vieira replacing Saka, we will see a dip in quality. We will see a reduction in quality. Of course, we know all the players in that squad have got the ability and versatility to swap out with Saka, like Kai Havertz can, like Emile Smith-Rowe can. Martinelli is naturally a right footer, so he can swap out with Saka. But the difference will be in quality. Do we have a player that replaces Saka and the quality is the same? Probably, because if I swapped out Xhaka and I introduced Rice, the quality goes up. If I swapped out Martinelli and I introduced Trossard, the quality either stays the same or goes up. If I swapped out Jesus and I introduced Trossard, the quality stays there. If I swapped out Partey and introduced Rice, the quality stays there. But if you swapped out Saka and you introduced any player right now, there is a debate whether the quality would be the same, and I don't think the quality would really be the same. Boniface says we need Partey. We just need Partey, right? We need Partey in our squad if we are trying to win anything next season. And then Hamza says, how about Moussa Diaby? We'll be talking about wingers in the next few seconds. Moussa Diaby is a player that Arsenal are looking at, but highly likely he will go to Saudi Arabia. Justin says we have to do is time down to a new year 2-year deal and keep him this summer, probably release him next summer if necessary. Well, that would be a nice idea. Time down to a longer contract and then sell him next summer. But listen, he's 30, right? He's 30. So if you give him a longer contract, how many clubs are really going to try to buy his contract? If he has a 4-year deal right now, how many clubs are going to come in and to buy out his contract? Remember, the age matters when you're buying a player. Age, the ceiling, and resale value. His resale value is actually going low. Actually, I would argue that after signing for another club from Arsenal this summer or maybe next summer, Partey might not have another transfer move where he's sold for money. He might be joining a few other clubs as a free agent. So his resale value is no longer there. So giving him a long-term contract literally means that you've dedicated, and he has dedicated his life to you, so that he plays out the rest of his footballing years at Arsenal. But that is it with Thomas Partey. We are talking Mikel Arteta confirming that he has 3 players in midfield, Jorginho, Partey, and Rice, and he will try to use them as much as he can to maximize all their qualities. Now, we're also going to be talking about a winger right about now, because it looks like Arsenal have found the right replacement, not the right replacement, but the right player to back up Saka and provide quality competition for Bukayo Saka on that right-hand side, and that player is Mohamed Kudus at Ajax. Now, the story broke yesterday, I was actually trying to do a video about it, but I just didn't have enough facts about the story, so I dropped it and I said we will discuss it today with the lads live. Okay, so this is what's happening. Arsenal have identified Mohamed Kudus, according to Sami Makpo from the Daily Mail. Arsenal have identified Kudus as the realistic and most suitable option to bring in on the right wing to fight with Bukayo Saka as a right winger. Kudus is a player that is already on the market, with clubs like Brighton, Liverpool, Man United already interested, and we are also getting some information from the Netherlands that Ajax will be willing to sell. He's a young player. He can play as a winger, prefers to play in midfield, and in my opinion, he's got all the qualities of Mikel Arteta on him. So, first and foremost, the list is big on who's going to replace, Saka in terms of in times when Saka is, probably injured, probably in needs of rotation. So the list is long. We have Kudus, we have Joao Felix, who we'll be talking about. We have Diaby, and there is also Nico Williams and a couple of other players that we will be hearing as we continue to cover the story. So Kudus at the moment, according to the Daily Mail, Sami Makpo says that Mohamed Kudus is on top of the list. He's the player that Arsenal are desperately interested in. He's the player that Mikel Arteta has told Edu, if you're going to sign me a right winger, you've got to get me that guy. Ajax will sell, there's no question about that. They've already set their price at around 50 to 60 million euros. However, 40 to 45 million euros could get the deal done. Ajax have a very good relationship with Arsenal, and that could be something that Arsenal rely on in this deal. And it looks like as we enter the deeper stages of the transfer window, someone will get Kudus. So let us start off there. Now, of course, the bigger name and the option that Arsenal fans really wanted was Moussa Diaby. But Moussa Diaby has a problem. Moussa Diaby is a player that really is about to join Saudi Arabia. He's about to go to Al Nassr. And at 23, it still baffles me. At 23, I'm still surprised that Moussa Diaby has decided to go to Saudi Arabia at 23. Like, of course, the few players that have gone there in their prime, like Ruben Neves at 26 has gone, and I'm surprised. But Moussa Diaby, in my opinion, his whole career is just ahead of him. Like, he's had 2 very good seasons at the very top. He's just waiting for that Newcastle, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid. He's just waiting for that move. Even if he stays at Leverkusen for one more season, right? Even if he stays at Leverkusen for one more season, he will get a dream move. Even if he stays at Leverkusen for 2 more years, he will get his dream move. But he's decided to go to Saudi Arabia. And at the moment, according to what I've seen, it looks like the player is pushing to go over there. The money is crazy. They're offering huge amounts of money, crazy amounts of money. I don't think a player like Moussa Diaby is going to turn that down. So Arsenal are moving over from Moussa Diaby. Whoever has been asking me about Moussa Diaby, Diaby is now bound to move to Al Nassr. Al Nassr offered more money. Al Nassr offered around 45 million euros, right? Of course, Leverkusen want a fee in the region of 50 million euros, so it's very, very close. And then Aston Villa are also trying to sign him, but it looks like Arsenal and Aston Villa was in the same boat. We are all offering around 35 million euros, and Leverkusen were not interested in such kind of money. So moving over to Kudus, first and foremost, great scouting. We really have a very great scouting network these days. Like, you look at the players we are looking at right wing, okay? Rafinha, Pedro Neto, Moussa Diaby, Kudus. It just shows you that we really are good in scouting these days. Our scouting network is alert, and they're doing a very strong job. Because, to be honest, all the players we've been linked with in that position are top notch. But I have a problem with Mohamed Kudus. Is he a midfielder? Is he a winger? Now there is a misprofiling of African players that actually creates a very big problem. It started with players like Sadio Mane until he became the best of himself under Jurgen Klopp, and we've seen a few other African players really misprofiled. Kudus at Ghana at the World Cup was one of the African stars that gave us a marvelous performance. He was absolutely unplayable. He was very, very good. But he plays as a midfielder for Ajax, and he would love to play as a midfielder, he has already said. But most of the clubs that are trying to sign him, including Brighton, I'm not really sure if Brighton are trying to sign him as a midfielder or they're trying to sign him as a winger, but I would bet they're trying to sign him as a midfielder, because you understand the scouting at Brighton. They're really good with their job. They're really good with their work. So if he's going to play as a midfielder at Brighton, and Liverpool want him as a midfielder as well, then Arsenal are making a mistake to try to sign him as a winger. But of course, his versatility is something that we have to talk about. Mikel Arteta has already signed these players in the last 4 years. He's signed players that can almost play anywhere. Like Fabio Vieira, this preseason, keep your eyes on Fabio Vieira. He's playing like Bernardo Silva, like he's hugging the touchline in many of the games that he's playing in. And that is absolutely very, very good. So Kudus is a good player. I think Arsenal do have a reason to sign him. But does he have the productivity? Does he have the output of Bukayo Saka? In my opinion, no. Does he have that electric blast Saka brings to the game? Can he decide games like Saka? In my opinion, no. And that is where I'm actually confused whether we are misprofiling Kudus or we are signing him as a player that Mikel Arteta can actually turn into something different. Because we know Mikel Arteta. He's turned Xhaka into some kind of goal-scoring monster and some creativity monster. He's turned Martin Odegaard and his career around, and we bet he will turn Kai Havertz around as well. So if Mikel actually wants him, and he feels that is the player that will be, he is comfortable with to compete with Saka, I don't have a problem. Like, I really, really do not. Like, he's an attacking midfielder, can play left midfield, right midfield. He can play as a number 10. So he's very close to what Arsenal are looking for, just not that Bukayo Saka electricity. That is one thing I don't see in him. I don't see the electricity in Kudus. I see him as a midfielder that loves to create, will not score for you as many goals as Saka. I really think that Saka in the coming years will have the ability to score 20 and above goals and create 15 and above chances per season. I don't see that in Kudus, but Mikel wants him. Now, in terms of competition, Brighton, Liverpool, and Man United. I don't think United will sign another midfielder. Like, I don't think United is a viable option for Kudus. He might want to go there. You never know. He might want to go there, but I don't see him cross over to Man United. Liverpool, keep your eyes on this one, because Liverpool are losing Jadon Henderson. They're also losing Fabinho. They've also let go of Keita, haven't they, and Milner. So literally they have no midfield. I won't be surprised if we see Liverpool put some huge amounts of money on the table to sign Kudus. Like, I won't be surprised. Brighton, after losing Alexis McAllister, they brought in Mahmoud Daoud, but I don't think that is the end. They've gone into the Europa League. They will need huge investment. So I'm also very aware that Brighton wants him. And I won't be surprised if he ends up at Brighton. You know, Brighton are just like Borussia Dortmund. They don't sign a player for him to be there for a lot of time. They'll sign him, he'll be there for 2 years. Probably they'll sign him for around 35 or 40 million euros. He'll be there for 2 years, 3 years, and then they will sell him for 80 million euros or 90 million euros. So if he agrees to join Arsenal, if he sees Mikel Arteta's project as a good fit for him, I wouldn't really have a problem with Kudus. I think he's talented. I think he's gifted, but I also think there is some kind of misprofiling on Kudus. We might be looking at him in the lens of Sadio Mane, yet he sees himself in the lens of a Kai Havertz, or he sees himself in the he sees himself as a Thomas Muller, right? So we need to be very, very decisive and very, very clear before we sign him. What does Mikel Arteta want him to do, right? And I think Mikel Arteta always does that very, very well with his players. Now, in terms of the other options, apart from Kudus, is Joao Felix. I've talked about Moussa Diaby as one of the players that we've wanted and we've looked at, but he is off limits. Now, Joao Felix is, his name is not hot on the market. I've seen someone say that he's going to go to Barca, and of course, Barca have always been big admirers, like huge admirers of Joao Felix. But the big question: do Barca have the money to sign him? Do Barca have the money to sustain a deal of the magnitude of Joao Felix? I don't think FFP would be very happy if they listened to their latest episode and Barca had signed a player like Joao Felix. I don't think Barcelona do have that, extended grace period with finances. I don't think they're really there. Now, with Joao Felix, I think we're talking about one of the most talented, technically gifted, and highly rated forwards and attackers in the world. Mikel Arteta wanted him, and I can now see why Mikel Arteta actually wanted to sign Joao Felix. Felix is a much better player than Kai Havertz. And that is exactly where Mikel Arteta wanted him. In January, when we tried to sign Joao Felix, I was kind of confused why we wanted to sign him. I thought we wanted him to play as a false nine or to play in that Gabriel Jesus role. But now I really understand why Mikel Arteta wanted to sign Joao Felix. So he's one of those players that are so good in that kind of false number 8, right? That kind of attacking number 8 role. Like where Jacques has been playing, where Thomas Muller plays, where Kai Havertz is going to play for Arsenal, and where Martin Odegaard predominantly played last season. I think it would be a great fit. But right now, it's a deal that doesn't make any sense. I don't think Arsenal will find, any sense in doing the deal to bring Joao Felix to Arsenal. I just don't see it as a sensible deal. He would cost over 80 million euros. That is number one. His wages are absolutely astronomical. That is number two. Number three, you don't sign 80 million euros for the bench. We've just given Saka 300,000 per week. I think if Felix came in, he would ask for around the same wage, 300,000 per week. I don't think Arsenal should be going for 300,000 per week on the bench. So Felix is a good deal. Like, he would be good if we had not signed Kai Havertz. He would be good if we did have Fabio Vieira. He would be good if it was next summer. You understand? Like, we brought in Declan Rice this summer for 100 million euros, million pounds. The next season, we signed Joao Felix for maybe 80 million euros, maybe 75 million euros. But this summer, it's a deal that I don't see happen. And other reports that are actually reporting about it, I think it's just a realization that Joao Felix doesn't have anywhere to go at the moment. Yeah, yes, Barca wants him, but Barca cannot afford him. You look at the quality and profile of players that Barca are signing this summer, free agents that are even at times bizarre, Okay, now they've signed Ilkay Gundogan on a free. They failed to bring back Messi at the Camp Nou. What does it say? Literally, it says that, you know what? We don't have the money yet. We don't have the money to go and buy those profile signings of, Griezmann. I think they signed Dembele. They signed Coutinho. They don't have the money at the moment. But linking him to Arsenal at the moment, it doesn't make any sense. I don't think Arsenal are financially okay. I mean, we could go on the left side, on the red side of the financial fair play rules, and we sign him, and then we can deal with the consequences later. But at the moment, I don't think it's the right environment. I don't think we are the right environment for Joao Felix. In January, like I said, we were the right environment. He needs love. He needs game time. He needs belief. He needs a good manager. He needs a good project. He needs a good environment. So if he comes to Arsenal right now, he gets all that and more. Like, he gets a winning team, potentially. He gets a winning manager, potentially. He gets the best project in Europe, potentially. He gets the he gets to play with some of the biggest talents in Europe, realistically. I think it's a good move. It would be a very good move for the player. But to Arsenal, why would we sign Joao Felix at the moment? Like, if we were to sign Joao Felix, why would we not go straight, sign Joao Felix and not Kai Havertz? I think Mikel Arteta has looked at Kai Havertz's profile and the price, and he has looked at the profile of Joao Felix and his price, and he's gone, how about if I make Kai Havertz better, rather than going for Joao Felix, who is going to be expensive, huge wages, and probably problematic as well. Because Atletico Madrid are not really sure with what they want. Initially, it was actually rumored that Diego Simeone was going to leave ATM in this summer. And that meant that Joao Felix was going to go back and have a successful career at Atletico Madrid. Like, yeah. But then, Simeone has not left Atletico Madrid yet. Joao Felix has gone back. It looks like the pair that were clashing in January are actually either going to work together or they're going to have to keep fighting. So, in my opinion, I don't think Atletico Madrid are really are ready to sell, and I don't think Arsenal need Joao Felix at the moment. Like, for a Saka replacement, Nico Williams is a good shout. Yeah, like, just go for Nico Williams, just go for Pedro Neto, just go for Daniel Podence. I mean, I like Podence. Podence is at times he plays more like a midfielder, but I think he's got the ability to play where Saka plays. I'll definitely go for Daniel Podence. I think Podence is quality. And many people underrate him, and we undermine him, but he's absolute pure quality. He's gold. I would go for Wilfried Zaha. And I asked you this on the channel, I think it was a couple of days ago, that would you sign Wilfried Zaha for free? Many of you said no. Many of you said yeah. But I would definitely go for Wilfried Zaha. Zaha is a good shot. And I think with Zaha, you will get a player who's good in the Premier League, proven in the Premier League, but he will give you the assists and he will give you the goals. Because he's a player that loves the limelight, and he's a player that has conquered the limelight. Maybe he doesn't love the limelight, I'm not sure, but he has conquered the limelight. Being at the center of attention. So, for me, Joao Felix, I don't see that happen. I really, really don't. But I want to see your thoughts here. I want to get your thoughts and opinions about, Felix and all the deals that we're talking about. Someone says, well, Cossy, welcome back, Cossy, to the live chat. Thank you. More of this to come your way, probably. Robert says, I don't want Felix at Arsenal. He's a lazy player. Is he a lazy player? When he came in at Chelsea, I thought he gave them something different. I thought he gave them something interesting at Chelsea. I'm not really sure what you guys saw. Asman says, I wish he could stay for more 2 years. That's Thomas Partey. And Shedrick says, I think the squad is good. There is no reason to panic when we have Trossard and Nelson in that Saka position. Okay, I mean, we could take it step by step. That's also a very viable option. Shafiq says, Balogun should be the backup for Jesus, Diaby for Saka. Diaby is going to Al Nassr, so Diaby is off the books for Arsenal. Edmond says swapping Saka should not be a problem as the players are fully aware that there is a huge competition among the team. Using a replacement will have to commit himself to proving that he can. Okay. Wilson says he helped us qualify for the UCL. That's Thomas Partey. Then why should we sell him? It is a sign of lack of appreciation for his efforts. Come on, I do like Thomas Partey. I only brought all the sides of the coin, right? Elvis says, Cossy, Reece Nelson needs more game time to step up his game, and don't forget that he has been down with injuries. But I believe this year he will break into the team as well. Okay, that's interesting. Eduardo says, but first, Partey to stay. Okay. Ivan says, I wish Partey to stay, and there will be no need to buy another midfielder. Okay. I understand, and I really appreciate the Thomas Partey love. If he knew how much you guys loved him, he would definitely stay at Arsenal. Okay. Now, let's talk about outgoings. All right? Nicola Pepe, I want your thoughts on Nicola Pepe. The good thing we're doing this live, right? And now, I want your thoughts on Nicola Pepe. Pepe is a player that has been communicated to by Arsenal and Mikel Arteta that is nowhere near, right? The squad next season. He will be nowhere near the squad next season. He has been given his chances and he has failed to prove himself. When Mikel Arteta came in, Nicola Pepe is one of the players that got their chance. Arsenal went ahead, a step ahead to give him out on loan for another full season, just to make sure that he's been treated the same way as Saliba, as Nuno Tavares, as Matteo Guendouzi, and all these other players. However, he's going to fall on that side of the coin where Matteo Guendouzi fell, where Nuno Tavares is going to fall, and a few other players that Arsenal have sent out on loan under Mikel Arteta's reign, and they've not come back to play for the club. Nicola Pepe is not wanted by Arsenal anymore. It is confirmed. He's mostly playing and training alone, as Arsenal do not have any thoughts of keeping him as a player. Now, I'm one of the people that tried to back Nicola Pepe a couple of years ago. I tried to back him, okay? But what he has done baffles me. In the last 48 hours, Nicola Pepe was approached by a Saudi Arabian Pro League club that offered him €5 million per year. That is 100,000, I think slightly more than 100,000 per week to sign for them, to join Saudi Arabia. Nicola Pepe turned the deal down, and now the Saudi Arabian Pro League club has walked away. The deal is off. Nicola Pepe will have to find a new club to play for. I'm not really sure how to react to this, because Pepe does not have a problem with the price tag. So it is not Pepe's problem that Arsenal paid over a king's ransom to sign him, over €72 million to sign him. That is not his problem, right? Arsenal probably misvalued him. Probably there was some shady deals in that deal, right? So there's so many explanations to why we signed Nicola Pepe for 72 million. What I don't understand is Nicola Pepe understands that at Arsenal, as we try to find a replacement for Saka, a player to rotate with Saka, right? A competitor to Saka. We've tried to find a right winger, and we have Pepe in the side. That should easily communicate that the team and the manager are not really willing to play Nicola Pepe ever again in the team. He has not traveled with Arsenal for the USA tour. That is another indication that he's not wanted. I don't understand why he would turn down €5 million a year to Saudi Arabia. I don't think Nicola Pepe is gonna turn his career around. I could be wrong about this. I could be catastrophically wrong about this. But I don't think I am. But if I am wrong about Nicola Pepe, I don't know why I'm trying to say Thomas. If I'm wrong about Pepe, and he still has a huge future at the top level in Europe, I want to be proven wrong. I really want to be proven wrong, because for me, this was a good opportunity. This was a very huge opportunity for him to go out there, just like the other players that have done, the likes of Eduardo Mendy, fellow African player, the likes of the players that have been at Chelsea, the players that have gone to Saudi Arabia. I think if you're Pepe and you're offered 100,000 and you're offered a way out of Arsenal, you take it. He's not 22, he's not 23, so we're not talking about a player who has the best years to come. We're not talking about, he's not a goalkeeper, he's not a centre back, because with goalkeepers and centre backs, you can argue that their best years when they clock 30. Pepe is none of that. Pepe is none of that. Pepe is a winger who had his best years spoiled at Arsenal. Now he's got a chance to go and make maybe some 20 million euros in the next 4 years. And that's for me, that was a good deal. That was a good deal. That is kind of generational wealth. But according to what I've seen, Nicola Pepe's valuation and what he wanted was like double what he was given. So I think he was thinking about a wedge between 200,000 to go to Saudi Arabia, and they offered him only 100,000. Now Arsenal have to find another option. I mean, that was a very good solution, and I've already said on this channel that Nicola Pepe, go to Saudi Arabia, find a club in Saudi Arabia that can buy him. And I thought Arsenal had just gotten the right buyer, but Nicola Pepe wants huge amounts of money. I don't know what's going to happen with Pepe, but the manager has told him, you're not part of my plans. You should train alone. You're not going to be integrated in the squad for next season. It is harsh, but it is ruthless, right? It is very, very harsh, but it's very, very ruthless. I mean, if you're Mikel Arteta, no one blames you for that. If a player has gotten his chances, he's not used them, there is nothing else to do. There's nothing else to say. He's got to go. He's got to go. So that is the latest on Nicola Pepe. Kieran Tierney wants a move to Manchester City. We've talked about this, haven't we? And I've given you the latest, and I've given you the reason why he wants to go to Manchester City. So it looks like his preferred move is Manchester City. But with Manchester City today signing Josko Gvardiol for 100 million euros, I doubt we're going to see Kieran Tierney go to Manchester City. I still think Kieran Tierney will go to Newcastle. I still think the worst case scenario is him going back to Celtic. I know he loves Celtic, but he's 26, 27 now. As a defender, those are your best years. You've entered into your prime. It is your peak years. I don't expect him to go to Celtic. Like, go to Newcastle. Newcastle will give him better wages than Celtic. No question about that. Newcastle will definitely give him some silverware that is worthy. Like at Celtic, you will win the league. There's no question. Like he goes there for 5 years, he wins 5 league titles. Does he become a legend? I mean, I'm not even sure, right? But at Newcastle, you have a chance to fight for UCL, Champions League, every single season. You have a chance to fight for the Premier League, probably in the next 6 years. And you have a chance to win either the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. Because imagine Kieran Tierney going to Newcastle next season and they win the FA Cup. That would be massive. But for him to go to Manchester City, I kind of feel like it is the same problem. You have so many players ahead of you. You have so many players that are better than you. You have so many players that it's the same problem at Arsenal. Zinchenko is ahead of you. Timber is ahead of you. Saliba is ahead of you. Gabriel is ahead of you. Kivio is ahead of you. Tomiyasu is ahead of you. You don't want that. You go to Manchester City. They have Ruben Diaz, Akanji, and Josko Gvardiol. It's the same problem. It's the same problem in my opinion. So I don't see how that actually works out for him. I don't see how that works out for him. Nuno Tavares has no chances, according to what is coming out, has 0 chances of staying at Arsenal. This is a story, guys, I don't understand. It's a story I don't understand. Not because I've not been following it. I've actually followed it very, very closely. And that's why I don't understand it. Like, Tavares is one of the players that are seemingly like they don't even play for Arsenal anymore. I don't understand the real depth to this story. I don't really understand. But he is a player that is really wanted by many clubs, including West Ham. West Ham have Alan Cresswell. So if they can get Tavares as a backup, I think he would be nice. His ability on the ball is nice, but I think Arsenal have problems with him in terms of discipline. Florian Balogun, Arteta has confirmed that they want to watch him during the USA tour, and they will determine what actually is going to be done with the player. Of course, Balogun was speaking about his future, and he said, at the moment, my focus is the USA tour. That decision lies with the Arsenal, not with me. And Cedric Soares is also very close to leaving Arsenal, as Benfica are pouncing on him this summer. Innocent says we still need Partey at Arsenal. Abraham says we should swap a deal for Kieran. We should do swap deal for Kieran. With who? Swap Kieran with who? Nicola says Arsenal is going to terminate Pepe's contract. I mean, it is not better. Terminating his contract is nowhere near getting some good money, or probably not good money, but getting some money out of his sale to Saudi Arabia, right? So it is not the best deal. Abu says Cossy, Partey should stay. Wilson says Pepe should not come back to our squad. Let us accept his loss. We have accept the loss we have made in Nicola Pepe. And Joseph says Pepe should leave and Partey should stay. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back, of course, tomorrow in the morning. A couple of uploads coming your way. And yeah, the live stream's back. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you right in the next one.